one by one. Now, first things first, what we have is we need to understand certain terminologies. Okay. What are those terminologies associated with Python? Let's see that one by one. So first, what is the syntax of a programming language? Syntax refers to the structure of the language. Okay. What is the actual legal way to write a particular program in that programming language? That is what the structure would define the syntax, whereas the meaning is associated with the semantics. Why we say the meaning? Like for example, print is a method, is a function in Python. Now what does that print does? Print has certain meaning associated with it, what it is. So those uh, forms the basis of semantics of a programming language. It is irrespective of any programming language. Syntax is about the structure, and semantics is about the meaning. What is the meaning of that what we are doing? If you write a if statement, how do you write an if statement? There is a structure and syntax associated with it, but what is the meaning of that if statement? If statement has condition, if it is true, only then you execute the next block of code. So those are the meaning or the semantics of a particular programming language. Now, uh, with that semantics, there is a lot of things that we need to understand in order to understand the semantics of a programming language. Like, what are keywords? What is an identifier? Or variables, objects, and all that. Now let's take one by one. First thing is keywords. Like we know, for any programming language, there are certain set of words, okay, that are reserved for that programming language, that are reserved, that are booked, that cannot be used for any other thing. Okay, those are called keywords. Keywords is a special reserved word that has a specific meaning and restriction. So there is certain semantic associated with it, and there is a restriction. Like for example, printf, I cannot go ahead and say print and give me and define that as a variable. No, because that is reserved in Python to do a specific task, and specific meaning is associated with that. So is the case with list or tuple or dic or the dictionary. And then there is also called as what we have a true, false. All these kind of things, words are called as keywords, and those keywords are reserved for the usage for any particular programming language. Okay. Now, keywords are a special words and meaning associated, and keywords are always available. Okay, they are always available for a developer in a programming language to utilize them in your code. It is not like you need to import a certain module and then you are going to use those set of functions or attributes in that module. No, if you write any simple program in a particular language, these keywords are always available, which means they are available for the developer to utilize them in however meaningful way they want to use it. Okay. And now Python has got certain keywords that are currently available depending on the version that you choose. And mind you, the keywords are not the same as built-in functions. Okay. So like for example, if you know lower or upper, if you know this particular thing, right? Let me go and open Python just to show you. Now let's say skills app dot lower. Now here, this is a built-in method that is associated with any string. So now this what does? It will convert the string into all lower cases. These are not the reserve words. These are not the reserve words. These are the built-in functions associated with the program. They are not the reserve words. Okay. So now, which means the keywords are different from the Python's built-in functions or the types. All right. Now, as you know, the current version that we are using, right? If you see, what is the current version that we are using? 3.11.1, right? 3.11.1, and in this there are 35 keywords that we find in Python. These are the set of keywords like and, as, assert, async, wait. break, false, true, lambda, from, for, def is, all these all these words what you see here. There are a total of 35 keywords in Python. Okay, so does anyone answer how many keywords are there in JavaScript? At least some approximate number, guys. How many keywords are there in JavaScript? Okay, all right. So there are. Am I audible, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is three, sir. Var,
No,
const, and
no. Those are
another
not the keywords.
var.
Those are the actual. Those are the keywords, but they are those are the keywords that are used to define or declare a variable. Okay, those are the three ones.
Yes,
But I'm not
yes.
talking about just the defining or declaring a variable. I'm talking about in a total. How many keywords are there in JavaScript? Approximately 64 odd keywords are there. Okay. In Python, there are 35 keywords. All right. Now, how do you find what for a particular version? How many keywords are there? There is a little trick that I can show you. Maybe this is something off. Like it is too early to run this, but I'm showing you one important thing. Like for example, import. Import is for importing a module. This is a, again, if you observe here, this is also a keyword. Import is a keyword. Okay, so import. Then I'm saying keyword. This is a module, and once I enter that, if I go ahead and call print keyword dot kw list, so what it does is this will print me for any given Python version, because depending on the version, the number of keywords might change. Okay. The earlier versions usually had like 30 or 32, like 3.8 or 9 version, there were 32 or 33. Then again, there is an increase in 3.11.1. There is almost like these are the keywords. These are 35 keywords that are currently available in Python 3.11.1. Okay, this is just to show you how to find the keywords in a particular version. Just import the keyword library, and then this kw.list, this is an attribute that is available in this module. Okay, this is an then keyword dot kw list that will give me the set of keywords that are currently available in Python. That is the current version 3.11.1. All right, with that being said, let's understand what are these identifiers. So as the name itself suggests, they are for something to identify. Okay, some like for example, if there is a person X, you can't the identifier of that person is the name, right? Um, if Arpita is there, then you define that name as an identifier for her. Okay, in the same way, for any variable, function, classes, modules, objects, lists, I mean, so on and so forth. Anything that you define in a programming language, there need to be an identifier associated with it, which means that is some name associated with it. All right. So Python identifier is a name given to identify whether it might be a variable name or a function name or a class name, module, or any kind of user defined name that you want to provide will have an identifier associated with it. And mind you, the identifier is not same as the variable name. No, usually most of the people will get confused that identifier is same as variable name. No, it is not just restricted only to the variable name, but even the function name is also an identifier. It is an identifier for that function. Okay, so understand that there is a small difference, and this is generic for any programming language, guys. This is not only for Python, but it is for any programming language. Identifier is a name associated with any of these that user defined things that you do in a programming language. Now let's understand a variable. So this is a very important concept because that is where you interact with the data. Okay, so any program is about manipulating, adding, multiplying, deleting, and just asserting that data you do is through the programs. Okay, program does what? It'll take the input, processes it, and gives the output. That's what the computer does, right? In the same way, for that, what we need is a reading the data, storing the data, outputting the data, manipulating the data. All that is done you because the program does that. And in order to program to efficiently do that, there need to be a certain variables that will be assigned to a data. Okay, now let's understand what it does is usually just go back to what you have learned in your other basic programming languages like C. Okay, so, as C, which is a statically typed programming language, where we say, whenever we say a variable, we say, hey, variable is like a bucket or a storage where you are going to store certain data in it. Okay, just assume that. Just kind of a reference that I can give is there is a bucket that can store certain data. Okay, that is what, or a bucket or a container or anything. All right, and that container, if you change the content of that, then it new content can store there. Okay, that is what we used to do in C. But now in Python, there is nothing called as a concept of containers or buckets here, because everything in Python is an object. Okay, we'll come to that why we are talking about saying that it is an object. Hence, in Python, every variable is considered as a pointer. Okay, pointers are nothing but a pointer is a variable which can store the address of another variable, right? But in Python, even there are no specific as a pointer that you see in C, where you used to have a syntax, right? Int star is equal to x, int star x is equal to ampersand y, where the address of certain thing that you are storing into a variable, okay, into a pointer. But here in Python, there is nothing called as pointers here. But in Python, one important concept is every variable can be treated as a pointer. Now, I'll come to this why variables are called as pointers in Python in the next slide. But now, just keep this in mind that in Python, variables are not the containers or buckets. Just understand this concept first. We'll see then what is the variable, then we'll come to that in the coming session. But now just make note of this. And when you say a variable, right, there is no command for declaring a variable in Python. Like for example, if you were working on C, right, then you used to do what? Int number is equal to 24. What you are doing here, you are using a keyword called int. Okay, then there is an identifier which is a variable name, then there is a single equal to which is an assignment operator, and then there is a value that you are going to store in number acts as a bucket or a container where you are storing a value of 24 in this. And then later in the program, you can go ahead and utilize this number. Whenever you call this number, this value would be recalled. Okay, that is what ideally in other programming languages that we have seen, especially in C. But in Python, right, there is nothing called as int, float, decimal. Those kind of keywords does not exist here. Okay, you can't use those keywords in order to declare a variable. Here, the simple way to declare a variable is like variable name is equal to, let's say, skills am. So what I'm trying to do here, I am giving some name, there is a equal to operator, and then there is a value. So there is a name and a value associated, and always understand that every value that you see here is an object. So ideally you say name is equal to object. Like how you say is in Python, name is equal to, because everything in Python is an object. Again, we'll come to that why we are saying that. Everything, I mean literally everything in Python is an object. Why we are saying that, we'll visit that pretty soon. But now understand that whenever you use an assignment operator, a name equal to an assignment operator, then there is a value. That is how you create a variable depending on the value type. Okay, now for example, let's see here. Variables are create the moment you assign a value to the identifier. All right, now uh, Python variable names themselves have no attached type. Now again, this is also very important concept. Why we are saying what is a type? Type is nothing but your data type. Okay, now why are we saying that it is a different? Let's take a workbook here. Maybe I'll create one workbook. Let's go here and open this workbook to show you. Now let's take that same example. Var name is equal to what I'm saying, skills app. Okay, I make it an enter. Then all right. So now that I have executed that, suppose I want to see, before I see this, let's say if I don't do any assignment operator, just say just I have given a var name. This is nothing but currently in Python, this is just a name, okay, or a not even a string. This is a name, and when I execute this name, right? Yeah, one second, because I have already declared, right? It is taking that. I'll restart it. Suppose now when I execute, when I just run this variable name I have written and I have executed, what it is saying, the name var name is not defined. So it is not defined when, until and unless you assign a value to it. How am I going to assign the value to it? Just by putting a equal to operator. And whatever follows from there, whatever follows after equal to sign would define a type for it. Okay, that is the reason Python is called dynamically typed. Let me give this example. Like first I'm going to give variable name as int 123. So what I am doing, I am giving a variable is equal to 123. 123 is nothing but it is an integer. Okay, now if I execute it, then this has automatically var name is created, and that is a variable name. Now if I see the type of, what is the type of type? Type is nothing but this will return what data type it is. Okay, what data type it is. I can go ahead and execute right here itself. It is of a integer type, and if I go ahead and say 133 and if I execute it, this has become a float. Now understand this very clearly here. I am not giving something like int or float like I do in C. I am just changing the value. This value will define what type of data, what data type this variable name is. Okay, now if I go ahead and change it to skillsam, like for example, let me go ahead and type 123. Okay, now again I have went ahead and changed that to 123.33. Okay, then I will go ahead and change that to skillsam. Now when the program executes, it will execute from the top. It will first, my variable name will contain this, and then this value, and then this value. And if I see my latest type, it will be string, because that is the latest value that this variable is assigned to or pointing to. Okay, it is not storing, mind you. I don't use storing here, because nothing is stored here in the variable name. It is just the name. That is the reason variable name is called a pointer here. It will point to the address location. Again, if I execute it, it will say string. So Because why is this happening? This is happening because Python is a dynamically typed language. Okay, that is the reason we say Python supports dynamic typing. So what is this dynamic typing? Dynamic typed languages are those where interpreter assigns variable a type at runtime, because when you are running this program, what is the type associated with it at the last, that will be assigned to the variable, that type. Okay, that is the reason this is called as dynamically typed programming language. Okay, and what are the pros of it? Pros is it is very easy to work and faster development time. You don't have to compile the code and then execute the code. You just because it is an interpreted language, you just type it and then run it, that's it. And cons of dynamic typing is may result in an unexpected bugs. Like for example, let me give you one example here. Int number is equal to, let's say, it is 23. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, there is also another number called cost, which is equal to, and here I am writing the cost as 12. Okay. Now total is equal to int plus cost. If I execute it, this will result in an error. Why is this resulting in an error? Because even the cost is now a string. Even though it is written in quotes, it is a string here. Okay, so that is the reason you cannot go ahead and do a operation like this, unsupported operand plus, when you're doing a string and integer here. Okay, that will result in unexpected bugs because your program has changed the data type of this. Even though you write as a number, it looks like a number, but it is actually a string because you put that in your single quotes. All right, had this been just 12, yeah, that is fine. That is fine. It will go ahead and sum it up and give me the total. Okay, that will give me the total. That's fine. Now, because of this dynamic nature, the unexpected bugs might result because of a string or a data type. There is a data type mismatch or compatibility. Again, there is something called as upcasting or casting in this. We will come to that very soon. How you can convert a one data type into the other using casting functions. Again, that is something we need to look out for. But now, understand that variables, just to recapitulate, variables are not the containers here because they are the pointers. They are pointing to a particular memory location. And then there is no command like int or float, something that you need to create a variable. Just by assigning a value, you create a variable. Name is equal to object, that's it. And the names have no attached type. Okay, variable names have no attachment type. That is what we saw. Whenever you just write a variable name, it contains nothing. The variable name has got value only when you have a value, has got meaning to it when you assign a value to it. Only then it has got a meaning to it. Now and then there is a dynamic typing. You have certain uses and advantages and disadvantages associated with it. But in Python, everything is an object. We'll come to that, why we call it as an object. Just to give you a glimpse, right? Like for example, let's say there is a string that I'm defining. The string might be FIFA. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and just to see why this is everything is an object here, just write dot here and press the tab key. Okay, just write the dot and press the tab key. That would result in lot of attributes and methods. So where are these attributes and methods? Attributes and methods are only associated with objects, because only object can have an attribute or object can have methods or functions associated with it. These are all the built-in methods or attributes that are associated with a string. Like for example, if I go ahead and see something called as is lower, I'm checking whether it is a lower or not. Or for example, upper. This is already upper. Let me convert it into lower. If I press that, then this would be converting that. So here I'm just entering, I'm not giving a variable name, nothing. I'm just giving a value which is nothing but an object, and then a dot, and then press the tab key. That will give me all the values associated with it, with the strings. Or for that matter, if I give 123 dot tab, again that will see give me certain attributes associated with it, whether and or if. These are the attributes and functions associated with the strings. And if it is uh, float, again float is also has got certain things. Like for example, if it is integer, it will say whether it is an integer or not. Okay, now it is not an integer, which is false. And if I go ahead and say uh, is integer is again a method. Now sorry, it is associated with a method. Yeah. All right, and now if it is this one, I can go ahead and say float. Float is not available for it. Yeah. All right, so now this is one part. Now for example, if there is a list, okay, list might contain certain values in that. um, let's say dot, and then press tab key, then it has got certain functions or methods and attributes associated with it. So only an object can have a function or attribute. Okay, that is the reason in Python everything what we say is everything is a object in Python. Again, if you go ahead and say append, so append, what it does, it will add at the end. Suppose I want to add 5, execute it. Okay? And then if I stores in certain list, or maybe I say my list is equal to, initially my list contains what, its value 123. If I say my list, what it contains 124. And if I go ahead and type my list dot append, so what my list will contain now, will contain 1 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, so again these are the attributes or methods. In this case, this is an method. Okay, this is a method is a function. So this is a built-in function of this my list data type. All right, so what it justifies here is everything in Python is an object. Okay, so these objects will have certain metadata which is called as attributes and methods. We also saw the similar thing in JavaScript. Okay, but not everything in JavaScript is an object. But when we link that, it is. Here in Python it is different case. Here you have everything that is there in Python is an object which has got a built-in attributes or methods associated with it. All right, now how do you assign a value to a variable? Any questions, guys, so far in this?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, assigning a values to a variable, we saw that that there is a name equal to object, then you are going to create a variable. Like for example, a single value is assigned to one variable. You can do it by variable name is equal to, then there is a color. Again, there is a multiple values assigned to a multiple variable. This also can be done like this. Like for example, if I go ahead and copy this, right, what I'm trying to do here is, what I'm trying to do, there is a Apple stock price, Tesla stock price, and Microsoft stock price. I want to have multiple variables. They are assigning a multiple value. So it is in order assignment. So Apple will have the very first value assigned to it, Tesla stock price will have 123.115 and Microsoft will have $238.75. If I execute it, right? If I execute it and then go ahead and print it, now if I see Apple stock price, it is 131.86. So how do you do that? The variable name, comma, next variable name, comma, then the next variable name is equal to, then the values associated with them. And the values can be all float, or it can be a combination of it. Suppose I want to make this as a Tesla. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and print this value, that is fine. It will print Tesla. This is a string. But one catch here you need to understand is you cannot have three variables be done. This will result in too many values to unpack. Okay. So how many number of variable names you have given, the same number of values have to be given, not less, not more. If it is mismatch, then it is going to throw error, which is a value error, which is too many values to unpack. All right. Make sense, guys? How to assign a multiple variables to multiple values. Now,
Yes.
let's understand how to assign a single value assigned to a single variable. Again, this is also the same thing. You have Messi goals, Neymar goals, and Ronaldo goals. All the three have to be assigned to the same value. Then you are giving a same value. If you execute that and print, then all of them would have been assigned the same value. Like for example, if I run only two, this also same and this also same. Okay. So this is how you assign a single value to multiple variables. Okay. This is a good way to do. And you cannot go ahead and give another value here. That is again with something different. It will throw syntax error, cannot assign a literal. So that is again a different game. All right. This is how you assign a value to a variable. Single value, single variables, that is fine. Multiple variables with multiple values, and multiple variables with single value assignment. All right. And how do you name a variable? Now, there is an important thing. There is a syntax or the way you need to name a variable. Let's do that. Now, let's say variable names in Python has to be either A to Z, which is capital letters A to Z, small letters A to Z, or you can use 0 to 9 in the variable name, either 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way to 9, or an underscore. That's it. Only these three: capital alphabets, small alphabets, numbers 0 to 9, and then underscore. You only can use these values. Let's take that example. Like for example, if you say var name, here what I'm doing, I am taking a variable name with value, and I just executed it. No worries, it will be perfectly fine. I can also go ahead and let's say I can also go ahead and put everything in caps. That is also acceptable. That is also fine, no errors. I can also start a variable name with underscore because that is allowed, right? What I said here is variable name can have capital A to Z, small A to Z, or 0 to 9, or underscore. These are the things that are allowed. Now, this is something that underscore utilization is perfectly fine. Okay. And then you can use underscore anywhere in the middle. That is also fine. Okay? That is also fine. But what you cannot do is you cannot use any special characters. Okay. Let's say variable name and I say dollar. This cannot be done because this is an invalid syntax. This dollar is a special character, you cannot use it. But in JavaScript, you that is a valid usage, you can use it, but here you cannot. Okay. And next, What you cannot do, you cannot start a variable with a number. You cannot start with a number. Okay, that is not allowed. And you cannot have a space in between the variable name. Spaces are not encouraged or not allowed in a variable name. You cannot do that. Okay, then that is a wrong way to name a variable. Spaces are not a valid usage here. And what else? Let's go back. Can start with a letter and underscore, cannot have a number, start with a number, cannot have spaces. Yes, only can have A to Z 9 and underscore. Yeah, is case sensitive. Let's understand that case sensitive thing. Like for example, guys, what I have, let's say, name is equal to, mm, let's say, Rohit. Print name. Now, let's say I give name again. So if I go ahead and print name, what happens? This is going to throw an error because this name and this name are not same. Okay, that is the reason here I can go ahead and say name is equal to Rani. So now this name and this name are different because here the name starts with small letter n, here the name starts with capital letter N. Because Python is a case sensitive language, the uppercase and lowercase will result in a different variables altogether. Okay, so that is also you need to make be aware of that, because it is case sensitive. The name, even though the spelling is same but the cases are different, small case and uppercase, then they are totally different variables and they are different things. All right, so this is something that you need to be aware of. Now, variable names with multiple words. Now, understand some things here. What so far we did, we have said name is a single word. Now, let's say my favorite color, blue. Now, if I execute this, this for this is absolutely correct usage. You can go ahead and give this file name that there won't be any error in Python. But what is this? If I give this kind of word, it would be very hard for someone who is visiting your code and trying to understand your code, how it works. Then it would be a very intricate and problematic to understand the code. So so Python has put up certain set of usage how you can give us variable. This is just a suggestions. Okay, these are the suggestions and not the rules of Python. These are the suggestions. The first is called as we might have already observed that in JavaScript learning, but now I'm going to just refer to you back again. There is something called as camel casing. Camel case. So what is this camel case? Camel case is for every letter, every word other than the very first word, you are going to make them in caps. This is called camel casing. Where camel casing is what it is, when a variable or a identifier is named in such a way that the very first letter starts with a small, and then the next following words are starting with the capital letter. In this case, favorite is a word and it is starting with the capital letter, and then color is a word, it is starting with capital letter. This is called camel casing. And the next one we call it as snake casing. Snake casing. So what is that snake casing? The same thing. The very difference here is everything would be written in small and every word is separated by underscore. This is called snake casing. So this is also a very standard usage in Python. You're going to use snake casing very often. Some will follow camel casing, which is absolutely fine. And there is also another thing, convention that people follow here, is that is called as what is the other one? Yeah, let me put that. That is called as snake casing, camel casing. Yeah, Pascal casing. Pascal case. Pascal case is something that every word will start with a capital letter. Okay? Every word, irrespective of the first word, every word will start with a capital letter. Okay, this is also called as Pascal casing. So these are the three ways that you can declare a identifier, whether it's a variable name, function name, class name, anything, in three ways: either camel casing, snake casing, or Pascal case. All these three are valid usages. It is up to your company or the organization that you're working, what coding standards are they following. Depending on that, you can use any of those way to give more meaningful and readable code. Okay, most important is readability. How good you have programmed it depends on your readability of the code. Okay, and that will be using the different naming conventions. All right. Now, uh, let's go ahead and see one question here. Now, what question is, like, suppose you have utilized in your program, there's a lot of code. Okay, tens of thousands of lines of code is there, and at some point in time you want to see a lot of variables are declared, used, and everything that happens. And now you have entered a point in your code where you are at a line 20,000, and you want to see what variable type it is. Like, for example, uh, favorite color is a variable type. Okay, so whether it is what kind of a variable type it is, whether it is like 123 I'm giving it, or I'm giving it a hexacode or it is a string. Okay, or it is some kind of a function. So depending on identifying what kind of what type of that variable is done using a built-in method called type. Okay, this type will give me what data type that variable is. It is a string data type. Okay, and if it is my list, and if I give type, this is a list data type, because I have already given my list here, right? Then what else I can do? Yeah, I mean, this is how you can go ahead. Let's say you have defined a tuple. Let's say t is equal to 12, 23, and 14. And guys, what tuple is, again, we'll discuss that everything, but it is a different, it is a type, data type as well, or a data structure that is built into Python. We'll go that and learn very soon. And this type is tuple. Okay, and if it is there is something is greater, is equal to true, and then the type would be boolean here. Okay, or we call it as bool here. The word is bool. And there is something for a null, right? So if I go ahead and define this as none, and this would be none type. Okay, if I go, this would be a none type. This is also a data type, like the way we have null in JavaScript. Like, in the same way, there is something called as none here, which is of the none data type. So just to recapitulate, the built-in type method is used to get the type of an object or a variable: int, float, complex, string, boolean, none, list, tuple, range. Again, there is a range, there is a frozen set, and all that set and everything. So these are the certain types that it would return. This function would return what type it is. All right. We have seen this, like for example, company name is Workzam. This will say string is greater than or some random is equal to none. Then this is a none type. If this is a list, and if it is a trigger price like Apple, the stock price is this, and this is a tuple. Okay, and here FIFA finale. This is an Argentina key value pairing. Then whenever there is a key value pairing, this is a dictionary. Okay, that is the reason it is saying dict. And then there is curly brackets, and you have these unique values here, and that is the reason this is a set. Okay, so all right, it is 9:57. What we are going to do tomorrow is we'll understand what why the variables are called as pointers. Okay, there is a concept associated with it, why we say pointers, why not some other thing, and we'll try to understand how the memory storage and everything works. Okay, there is a way that this operates. We'll understand this very clearly, and also, guys, this is an important concept because that is the foundation. Okay, because we are going to make a very bold statement saying that variables are not containers but pointers in in Python. Okay, and at the same time there are no pointers in Python. Again, that is also a very important bold statement. We are going to see how and why. Okay, and we'll also understand everything about objects, and we'll see operators, and we'll enter some numbers, objects, and everything we're going to see tomorrow. Okay, yeah, all right, guys, thank you. You guys have a good night. Thank you.